Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Alien Force Retrospectives. As you can see, Christmas time has passed, we're looking forward to the new year, and I went on vacation, so I got a nice shirt here to talk about. Sleeves are, well, not really talk about, I'm just wearing it to show off, really. Went on vacation, so got a souvenir, why not? It's a really nice shirt. Sleeves could be a little longer, but what can you do? So, yeah, anyway, enough of my gloating. Today we're going to be looking at episode 26 of Ben 10 Alien Force / the final episode of Season 2, War of the Worlds Part 2. And as a quick recap of the last episode, what happened was that the Highbreed's plan to the Highbreed were finally enacting their plan to attack, pretty much. We learned that the Highbreed were actually planning on attacking several planets, if not all planets. They attacked Galvin Prime. Their next target was Earth. So Ben, Gwen, and Kevin assembled all the Plumbers kids that they met, such as Cooper, Darkstar, Alan, Julie with Ship. They got and even Azimuth and Paradox joined in. And just as an added bonus, Azimuth unlocked the Master Control and Ben's Omnitrix, so he could be at full power when he fought them. So they all went to Los Soledad, where the Highbreed were building their arch that were supposed to bring the entire Highbreed fleet to Earth. And while they were able to fight through most of the DNA alien hordes and make their way to the arch, unfortunately they were too late and the arch was activated, bringing the entire Highbreed fleet to Earth. So that's pretty much where this episode begins, where Ben is on the ground after having failed to take out the arch. So the group realizes that they're kind of screwed at this point, so Ben says, okay, we should try something else then. We instead you should go to the Highbreed control tower and order the commanding Highbreed to have the fleet retreat. And while it's a good idea in theory, they also state that there's a lot of forces surrounding the tower, so it's gonna be hard to get to. I also just want to briefly mention that there's a nice little bit of character stuff where he says, okay, new plan. He comes up blank. It's a nice little thing between him and Darkstar, where Darkstar says, okay. Where Darkstar thinks his plan is done. He says, hey, how many times have I beaten you? And Darkstar said twice, but at this point I'm starting to wonder why. I'm only mentioning it because I think it's just a cute moment it's a nice cute moment, still showcasing their characters, what's strong, but yeah, anyway, getting off topic. So Kevin, it turns out, actually has a plan for that. Turns out that every time the group went up against a bad guy who had some piece of foreign alien tech, he threw it in the he stored it in the trunk, and, well, all those times he was working on his car before, he wasn't just improving a little thing. He was adding that stuff to the car. And so Kevin hits a button, and so the car pretty much turns into a mini tank. With rocket launchers, giant high terrain wheels. It's got rockets. It's just all high tech and ready, and they just drive it right through the DNA alien hordes while everyone else fights them off. They manage to get to the tower, and Kevin sets his car to go rampaging on its own. They manage to ultimately they fight their way to the top of the tower, where they fight the Highbreed, where they manage to find the Highbreed commander who ordered all this. They fight him some more, but they get into a fight, but Ben fights the Highbreed directly while Gwen and Kevin fight another Highbreed, that's not as high a commander. Unfortunately, they're not doing so well either, as Kevin's knocked aside very easily. Gwen, please don't do it, leave him alone. Do it, but unfortunately, the Highbreed is getting ready to kill Kevin. Gwen's powers are getting weaker are getting a little worn out from all the fighting. But then just before the Highbreed can kill Kevin, suddenly Gwen changes. Her power starts irradiating. The Highbreed starts glowing with pink smoke. We see Gwen glow, and she becomes her Anodite form. She transforms into her Anodite form, sending the thing flying right out of the room. But she's radiating with energy. She's doing it like she's just there. She just looks powerful, and Kevin says, Gwen, calm down. But Gwen says, no, I can feel this power. It's amazing. I can defeat the Highbreed now. Now, what Kevin said, no, your grandma said it would take 75 years to do this, but she said, no, we won't have that time. Gotta do this now. But Kevin says, no, we'll find another way, please. You'll lose your humanity. Just please come back. And it manages to calm her down enough. And I'm only mentioning this because, yeah, it's just a nice kick-ass moment. And it's also one of the reasons why I'm not totally against the retcon with her being an Anodite. I mean, I still have my problems with it, and it still gets on my nerves because we saw magic prior. There's still the story stuff with it. It gets on my nerves, but this is one of the reasons I'm still not totally against it, because of moments like this where we see Gwen just go full badass, and just kind of see how powerful she actually that she really is, and it's really a nice moment as you just see her in her form. She's glowing or powerful. You do want, and it actually is a nice, and it also is a nice moment because it kind of shows another moment between her and Kevin as Kevin manages to talk her down and actually says, "I need you. I can't. Please don't leave me like this. We can find another way." And that's how they managed to get her back. So. But anyway, while that's happening, Kevin and Ben and the Highbreed are still fighting, and Ben manages to ensnare him in vines and tells him to order the fleet to return. But the Highbreed commander drops a bombshell. He doesn't have that authority. He may have opened the opening of the jump gate, but otherwise he does not. Otherwise, the people in charge of the fleet are the Highbreed Supreme and his council. As such, if they want to stop this, they got to go to them. And unfortunately, they're on the Highbreed homeworld. And to make matters worse, a swarm of D and aliens has come in to try and attack them. But thankfully, at that point, Max, Manny, Pierce, and Helen all come crashing in. And Max is riding on top of a Null Guardian. It's a very awesome moment. Don't ask me how they got there. I don't know. Apparently, the Highbreed Ben was fighting was the one from the Max Out episode. How he got this way, I, honest to God, don't know. I don't know. Answers are not a thing in this episode. I do mean that with sincerity. I don't know how Manny, Helen, Pierce, and Max got out of the Null Void. They stated they fixed everything, but how they get out of the Null Void is beyond me. I know Alex Clark stated that and if you don't know that, he's someone who's been commenting in my videos. He stated that it might have been just a random portal pocket or whatever that they might have gone through, but they don't say that. They don't answer it. They don't. We don't know. We don't know. But bottom line, they're back. So they're still wondering how can we get to the Highbreed Supreme if they're on another planet. But Ben says, well, here's an idea. The jump gate the jump gate may be a doorway to our world, but it works both ways. If it's a portal from their world to us, at the same time, it could be a gateway for us to go to them. So that's exactly what Ben wants to do. He calls up Julie, so she sends ship over. They go in. Ben, Gwen, and Kevin go in while Max and the plumber's helpers go to assist the rest of the team. And Asma comes along too because he says he wants to make sure that they protect the Omnitrix. So they fly through the gateway to the Highbreed's homeworld, but while they go through there, they get disoriented by the travel, so they're a little confused. The more Ben vomits on Azimuth. And unfortunately, when they're there, Chip gets hit and gets knocked down, and the combination of the crash and the disorientation from the jump pretty much knocks Ben unconscious. And when he wakes up, he, Gwen, Kevin, and Azimuth have been captured and have been locked up in the tower. The ship has gone into hiding, and so while they're captured, they're where they need to be. So Ben kind of not wasting any time because they stated earlier Ben can access the Omnitrix now through master control through voice commands, much like in Back with a Vengeance, where they showed him actually say the alien's name and then transform. That's what he does. He just says Omnitrix Humongosaur, and boom, he goes Humongosaur and he breaks them all out. They managed to get a Highbreed guard and he tells them where their Highbreed council are, and they're pretty much just these. They manage to find, and they go to the council room. They're pretty much just very large. They're much larger, fatter Highbreeds sitting in chairs, kind of a council thing, and honestly, I kind of like them, and I kind of like that in that regard. I kind of like how they're portrayed in this regard. The way they speak does kind of feel old and sagely, but at the same time, you can tell they're Highbreeds because whenever they see Ben, while they're complimenting him for his tenacity and his resourcefulness, they're still calling him scum. They call Azimuth a slightly more intelligent form of pond scum. It's just they still seem wise and sagely, but they're still arrogant jackasses. And it's very obvious by this. So Ben tells them that they want to, or they have to call off the invasion, but they state no, we're not. This is our final attack, and it turns out they're not just attacking Earth. Their ships are all over. There have been jump gates opened. Their jump gates have been opened up on several planets. Their entire fleet has been opened up on every planet in the galaxy, and within a matter of an hour or hours or whatever, every planet in the universe is going to die. And so they just say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And they keep saying, why not? You're scum. Getting rid of you is just doing it. just doing the universe a favor. And then Azimuth pretty much knocks them off their high horse and reveals the real reason why they're doing this. It turns out that when the Highbreed have the thoughts of superiority with the Highbreed, it turns out it extends to even their own species. Because of their supposed superiority, they began inbreeding to the point, and because of everything that happens with that, it led to genetic defections in later generations. They wound up including no immunity to diseases, and sterility. The entirety of pretty much the most recent generation of hybrids are completely sterile. They cannot have kids at all, meaning that the current generation of hybrid is the last generation of hybrid. They are gonna die. They are screwed, and so as such, since they have their giant superiority complex, that's why they want to destroy the universe. If they're gonna die, they might as well take everyone else with them. Since we're the ones on top, why should we leave them in charge? They're scum. Why? We're going, they're going too. That is their mentality, and pretty much with that mentality in mind, all the firepower they have, Azimuth believes they're doomed. There's no way they can defeat all them. And so Ben says, why should we defeat them when we can help them? And so Ben actually does something that's kind of unexpected, and in the same time, I kind of like it, kind of don't. I like it I'll explain later, but Ben activates the DNA restoration process function on the Omnitrix, except he tells the Omnitrix that he wants it to target every hybrid, every one. And the Omnitrix says it can do it, but it requires all available power. So Ben transforms back into his human form, and the Omnitrix sends a DNA wave across the entire planet, and because the gateway is open, leading to every planet where the hybrid are invading, the wave passes through that gateway and hits every hybrid that's invading. And so it turns out that once the wave has passed by, it turns out the Omnitrix actually bonded the DNA of several aliens in the Omnitrix with one of the hybrid, restoring whatever genetic defect there was and allowing their race to live on. Unfortunately, this does not bode well with the hybrid, because while now their genetic flaws are repaired, they're now bonded with lesser beings, and so they feel that the best way for them to go out is to just die until someone intervenes and talks them out of it, and that someone is Riney from Alone Together. And no, I have no idea how he got here. He maybe passed through that warp gate that was on the desert planet and came here. Maybe the ship came to get him. I don't know. They don't explain it. I suspect he went through that little gateway to try and help Ben or something. I don't know. But bottom line, he's there, and it turns out that I think the DNA wave actually altered his DNA even further. Like when we first last saw him, Ben repaired his arm using some of Swampfire's own vines to help reattach his arm and get it working. But in this case, I think maybe with the assistance of the DNA wave, it's become more of a complete bond. As now his entire arm is green, you can see it kind of mesh together. His DNA is completely, and so he tells him that when I first met this kid, he helped fix an ailment of mine by altering my DNA. And while I at first thought it was a curse, I have since come to learn that this is actually very good, and that with the help of this, we can grow, we can prosper. Please reconsider. And with very little convincing, actually, which I kind of find surprising, and I think is a little dumb, considering how superior these guys are. They decide, okay, fine, and they name Riney the new Highbreed Supreme. So, as the new Highbreed Supreme, he has the authority to end the invasion. He calls all the Highbreed back, and he says, thank you for the help, Ben. And so, the group goes back to Earth. The hybrid have retreated. Max destroys the gate with a fusion grenade, which essentially just destabilizes it. And it's actually surprising that because he was able to throw it right to the top of the arch, which I think, well, Max maybe probably has a good throwing arm. The thing was a giant arch. It required way big just to be able to grab the side. So why the heck could he throw a grenade that high? I don't know. But it destroys the arch. Max decides to stick around and train the plumber's kids because they think they might need some good tutoring or tutelage. Julie goes off with shit because she still has a curfew. And Gwen and Kevin go off to an auto show because Kevin's car is trashed once again, so he's probably going to need a new one. And Paradox takes Azimuth back to Galvin Prime, though Ben asks Azimuth to reinstate the Master Control because the DNA wave pretty much wiped out, because pretty much reset the Omnitrix, and Azimuth just leaves Ben, and Ben cycles through his alien Samorans and goes alien and transforms into a random alien, and that's how it ends. So yeah, kind of continuing on from last week. Do I like this special as a whole? Yeah, I think War of the Worlds is a good finale, but not great. It's good, but not great. And allow me to explain this. First, let me talk about why I think it works. War of the Worlds, I think, is a good finale. The stakes are very high. Because as a storyline that was built up across 2 seasons, I think it makes sense that they would be that high. You kept getting hints about what the Highbreed were doing, just little bits here and there. You never got full answers, only getting a little bit at a time, here and there. And every time Ben came across the Highbreed, they were always doing something, exploiting something. And every time they had to keep going through it, and you only kept learning a little bit at a time. Now they had a hatchery, they were preparing for something. They were getting an army of DNA aliens. They were getting all these components, getting a power source. They were getting this thing, and you knew the archway. And then when you learned it was the archway, you didn't learn how big of a scope their plan was. When you learned they were pretty much planning on a mass extinction of every race in the universe. That alone is some very big stakes. And in War of the Worlds Part 1, when the episode ended with the entire fleet of Highbreed in the sky, yeah, that's some big stakes. And again, what makes it work is just the fact of just how actiony it can be, because it's a war zone. It gets the action is much quicker and faster and more all over the place, and it feels great to watch because it's still nice to see. It's fun. It was awesome because, again, going back, it was cool seeing Kevin's car go into battle mode and blast through this army of DNA aliens. It was cool seeing when they get to Control Tower, Ben duking it out with a Highbreed. Now that he's had more practice with these aliens, he was more with Swampfire. He's able to actually go toe to toe with him, and even when the Highbreed is still stronger, Ben manages to catch him off guard and still get him. It's cool seeing Gwen go all out in her Anodite form, seeing just kind of how powerful she is, and it pains me because they don't show again how powerful she is into Ultimate Alien, and that's another series. But again, it's one of the reasons why I'm not totally against the retcon, because of moments like that, and it works because it helps her relationship with Kevin as they grow a little closer. I like seeing everyone come together, though Max and the Plumber's kids really didn't do much when you actually think about it. I still liked seeing them go to the Highbreed homeworld. I liked seeing them I liked seeing all this. I think it was really nice. But where I think it kind of falls flat, admittedly, is when it tries to stick to the tone, tries to still somewhat stick to the tone from the original Ben 10. In the original Ben 10, like in classic Ben 10, it was goofy, fun, and while it did have some serious stakes, it was still a kid's show. It was still trying to be fun. It was still trying to be funny and goofy, and it still kept up that tone, even when all this big crap was happening all around. Here, I feel like it's still trying to get how serious and intense this is, but it's still trying to interject a little bit of humor. And in some cases it works, but in other cases it kind of feels a little out of place. Especially when you have villains like the Highbreed, who are completely serious and whose sole motivation is, we're better than everyone else, we're dying, kill them all. It kind of doesn't fit in that place, and it does kind of get to me a little. And again, I think another reason why I think why this special fails, admittedly, is kind of the build-up and payoff. Once again, kind of going back to the finales in classic Ben 10, especially the two-parters. In fact, I will just talk about the two-parters. The two-parters kind of built up everything much better, keeping things a mystery while explaining some things while still keeping you invested and excited. once again, going back to part 1, I think what kind of, again, while part 1 wasn't a bad beginning, half of it was just getting the team together, and then the other half was action. While in when other part 1 and other two-parters, like for the return / Be Afraid of the Dark and Ben 10 versus Negative 10, the first part was build up and mystery while still having action and still showing how big a threat was. And while I understand that, and again, in some cases, I kind of understand why they didn't have to do all that build up before, because you already know the threat. You saw it being built up, and even like a few episodes prior to this two-parter, they revealed what the Highbreed's plan was. So really, it's just a waiting game at that point. So it really doesn't, it's really not as big a pay. So it really is, it does, so which admittedly means that I think it could have been better if they just waited on that reveal till probably this. So that, it just kind of, that, yeah, sorry, I'm rambling / mumbling. I think that could easily have been an easy remedy, that they could have probably waited till this episode to show it, instead of that one, instead of the Inside Man episode. And while I didn't think Inside Man was that bad, I think it probably would have been alleviated a little if they had waited until until the two-parter to reveal everything. And while it still is cool seeing aliens like Cannonbolt, Upchuck, and Waybig from the classic series come back, it's still instead of having the action and story maybe be mixed together, it was one half action, one half story. But again, where it kind of picks up in part 2 is how big it gets. Like, you see the Highbreed fleet go through, you see them having to fight through these hordes of DNA aliens, you see Gwen go into a full Anodite, Ben, them getting to the control room only to learn that the guy in control isn't the one in charge of isn't the one in charge, they gotta go even more. They go onto the Highbreed's planet, and again, this is where we get to the finale. Again, as I stated a little while ago, I both like and dislike this finale. I like it because it kind of helps show how far Ben has come. When Ben still has some of his goofier qualities, like when he says, okay, new plan, and then just suddenly draws a blank while everyone just watches him. But once he hears that the reason the Highbreed are doing all this is because they're dying and that they need, and the DNA is imperfect, rather than trying to think of how to defeat them and destroy them, he wants to help them. And he actually does it in a very creative way. He says Omnitrix, can we repair the genetic defects in the Highbreed? And that's exactly what he does. He repairs all the DNA, not only to stop them, but to save them, so they don't die out. It's noble, and I do like it. And I do like that that's ultimately how the ending goes, that Ben is able to win because he made friends with one of the Highbreed before, and he acts as the envoy between them. And as such, the Highbreed become docile. They're not complete peace loving and all whatever, but they don't feel themselves as superior to anyone anymore, and they actually step down and they actually realize it enough so that they allow the single Highbreed, the first who had this stuff, to actually be in charge and allow them to help guide them into realizing it. But on the other hand, one of the reasons I dislike it is the build-up. I mean, things were getting higher and higher. The stakes were getting higher. And when you think Ben 10, you kind of want to see a giant battle. And again, I don't expect Ben to be duking it out with these council members. I mean, they look old. I think it'd be kind of sad, unless they're really good fighters. I don't know. And even then, I think it'd be kind of a little, I don't know. And again, you could probably make the argument that it's a little heavy-handed, it would be kind of heavy-handed if Ben forced them to do it, rather than just convince them. But at the same time, all the build-up just to have this payoff where Ben says, we can help them. I don't know. It's, again, I like it for what the character progression, and it feels like a very noble thing. But at the same time, when you have this much build-up, you kind of want a good payoff. And this payoff's just okay. Nothing amazing, just okay. Excuse me. And even then, there's the whole, they're easily convinced when at first they're ready to just commit ritual seppuku, and they realize their DNA is no longer as pure as they like it to be. And then Ryan comes in and says, "Come on, and just kind of gives them the equivalent of "come on," and then they're like, "Whatever, sure." I don't know. That just kind of gets to me. I think I could have used like a little more convincing, but I don't know. But I don't know. And then again, there's also the kind of the de facto ending where the Omnitrix gets reset, and so Ben says, "Oh man, he doesn't recognize any of these guys." Honestly, I think that, and call me a conspiracy nut here, but I think that was the intended end for the series. I think they were planning on ending the series right there, like ending Ben 10 Alien Force right there, and that would be the end of the series. But then Cartoon Network ordered a third season, and it had to keep going. I think again, just that final scene, especially when Ben just transforms into an alien, and you actually see a brief image of an alien you don't recognize. And Ben does eventually have that guy in his roster. We see him in a later episode, but I think that ending alone, and I think that the ending to that finale was their intended end to the show. I think that was their intended. I think they were intended to just stop the series here, and yeah, I think it would have been satisfactory. Nothing great, but it would have been a satisfactory ending. They stopped the bad guys. The universe is saved. They're all happy. Everything's good. I think that would have been. I honestly think that would have been a good ending. But they kept going, and we got a movie, third season, and two more series. Technically three, if you want to count the reboot. But yeah, that was. But yeah, they continued on. They continued on after this. So again, it's just kind of my theory. And again, on the whole, is War of the Worlds a good episode / finale? I think it's a good finale. I think it's a good finale because it does pay off on everything. It does pay off and explains exactly what's going on. How it shows how big the stakes are. I like seeing all these characters come together. I like seeing what they have to do to to raise the stakes, raising the stakes, everything. The ending again, the ending I'm kind of iffy on, but I do kind of like the character aspects of it. As an episode, I think it's a good episode. And I think it's better. It's one of the better episodes of Alien Force. I'm not saying that the other episodes suck. They're not. They don't. I just think this is one of the better episodes. But again, in comparing it to the other finales in classic Ben 10, I'm sorry. I think they're better. They're better. Secrets, I think, was a nice payoff with Vilgax and just kind of the brutality and showing how strong he was. Back of the Vengeance, well, I think is kind of the weakest of the finales in the classic series. It was still fun to see Ben go with the Master Control and seeing Vilgax and Kevin working together. The Return / Be Afraid of the Dark was a very nice one that with not a lot of build-up, but a great payoff with mystery upon mystery with all these monstrous aliens, Ghost Freak still building up, and all that. Build up in both parts. Ben 10 versus -10 was still a nice build up, all still showing how high the stakes were as the Tennysons encountered more and more of these more of their villains, and seeing them having to work together and even exploiting this plumber tech, and you're still wondering what's going on. Then when you see when the Tennysons finally meet the Forever King and then learn who he is, it's nice build up and payoff. It was really nice. And then when we cut to this again, it's a nice payoff. It's a good payoff, but it doesn't feel as actiony as those. And again, it could probably be Alien Force's different tone, which isn't bad. I like Alien Force, I really do. But honestly, it's a good. But in the end, I think War of the Worlds is just a good finale, not a great finale, just a good one. It offers finality for the story. It has some nice character moments. It has them all coming together. It has everyone coming together. It's really nice. It's really fun to watch. It's fun to watch, especially for the pay. It's fun to watch. But on where it ranks, I'd probably rank it like maybe probably above for the finales. I suppose I should probably count X equals Ben plus 2 in there. I'd probably say I'd probably put it somewhere. I'd probably put it as like a number, like rating it from like 1 to 5, 1 being the best, as 5 being not as great. It'd probably be like kind of a 3. Good, but not the best. Just yeah. So, hold on. This is kind of annoying me. That might just be my eyes, but I don't know. Sorry, it's just the lighting. And kind of weird that I'm getting on the lighting that I pretty much summed up my thoughts, but yeah. That's pretty much it. We've covered the first 2 seasons. We finished up that storyline, and next time we meet, ladies and gentlemen, we will actually not be going into season 3, at least not right away. We will be getting to that, but next week, instead of jumping right into season 3, we're going to be taking a slight detour as we take a look at the third movie made for the Ben 10 series, the second live action movie made for them, and the first/only movie made for Ben 10 Alien Force. So, next time we meet people, we're going to be taking a look at Ben 10 Alien Swarm. I'll see you then. Take care.